Welcome back, people, to Wise Up TV, where today we are breaking down the completion and final of the Pacific Championships, with Australia winning 20-14 over Tonga. Australia back on top of the International Rugby League world, and congratulations to them. Wonderful job. Hands off to them. Just an amazing job to get themselves back to where they needed to be, but full credit to Tonga as well. Brought the energy, brought the passion. But what a good game it was. Guys, quickly, just before we get started, like and subscribe to Wise Up TV for more content moving forward, especially into next year. But while we're here, at least for the internationals, please give us a like and subscribe. Look, just going to break down this game for you. And for me personally, I was talk about atmosphere and energy. It was a really worthy final, I thought. The crowd was great. 28,000, I believe, in the end. The performance from both teams was hard. It was hard fought, and ultimately the class and the values, I think, of Kangaroos got them over in the end. But Tonga were not far from it. They did an amazing job. You could just tell there's some little details that they couldn't quite get over the line. But when I think in a few years' time, you might be thinking Tonga have got a bright future. But I thought, man, the first try that Tonga got over the line was absolutely awesome. Katoa, I think he started to round out to being the player that I expected him to be. I thought he did a much better job of getting his team around the park than the first time against against the Kangaroos. And then that try, dummy underneath, catching dead and just a bit, that causes the hammer to drop in. Nice hold up by Lehigh Hopewadi as well to hold that ball up, and then Katoa with the finish in the end. The best start you could hope for, exactly like how it was against the Kiwis. Get in there early and get some points on the board to build some confidence. And then I just thought, well, that's a great start. But again, as always with the Kangaroos, you need to keep the points on. And then it switched back the other way. Kangaroos with another great try. I think they got maybe 2 or 3. There's even some disallowed tries, but it felt as though, the momentum was swinging back to the Kangaroos. I think the forward pack of Tonga did a great job initially. I thought Tamalolo, we've been dying to see that at NRL level. Great that we got to see it. AFB. And it was pretty tidy from them in terms of set completion, defense, a few little lapses, but it was a really good hard hit out. But then I suppose Aussie just picked up in that second 20. A few interchanges. They got AFB off for Tonga, and it kind of just sort of dipped a little bit, which is probably why the scoreline ended up where it was. But then I thought, the game was hanging in there for Tonga. They did well to kind of manage it. I thought the crowd was absolutely awesome, providing an energy, and I thought Combat was a great way to host the actual final. Lolo here was chipping in a lot more. I thought that combination actually started to look like it was working. Kolo, I thought, had a great little game. Probably you could argue that he could have been the starting centre over Sully from the get-go. But, I mean, you could see that Sully is that damaging runner. But Kolo, I thought, held his own for the majority. Alamoti did pretty well. We know he got burnt heavy against Hammer the first week of Pacific Championships, but I thought Alamoti did his number. He did a much better job this time one-on-one. It's unfortunate that he got injured. I think maybe there'd be a bit more left in the tank if he was on the field, but ultimately he did the best he could. As for Australia, I thought they were again great. Probably not amazing, but they did pick their moments. Tried to Dravojevic, I thought was beautiful. There was just some really good, sharp moments. And then defensively, I think, has been the key for them, obviously. If we look over the whole game, it's an Australian performance that I'm accustomed to because I understand how they build their games traditionally. Firstly, defense, impenetrable defense. You cannot barge over the line against Australia. I've learned that many years being a Kiwis fan. You have to throw them stuff that is hard to deal with. I think Tonga, for the majority, if you build off that first try, was exactly what you should be trying to do. Attack the edges with a bit of go forward. And that's how you get at Australia. But I think Tonga kind of ran out of ideas at times, and we're just trying to barge over the line, and it's just not going to work. Australia when their defense is on, it's impregnable technically. And then Australia, in many ways, once they absorb that defense and what you throw at them, they counter attack that. They just go and they lift to another level, and before you know it, you've been attacking for 3 or 4 sets on their goal line. Next minute, they're scoring a try down the other end, and that's how good they are at what they do. And I think Mel's done a good job to get them back to that base level. I thought their forward pack was pretty good. I thought Hudson Young did a pretty good job starting in replace of Cameron Murray. Yo was immense as always. I just thought a good all-round job. Dearden, I thought, obviously, man of the match for me. He really piled on the pressure in his run game. Caught Tonga out a few times. Very, very sharp. You can just tell he's got that game. If you give him an inch, he'll take a mile. He literally will. But yeah, going into the second half, I thought Tonga, they hung on there and they got a lot of ball and fair. So I mean, a lot of people complaining about Klein, but I think in most cases he was pretty fair. I thought, they did enough to kind of get over the line. I thought the try for Lolohea to Olukwatu was beautiful. Again, we needed more of that earlier in the game. I didn't think Tonga maximised. Again, it goes back to the first game where Tonga literally did nothing with the ball, and their first outing against Australia, and didn't create. This time they created a bit more, but it still wasn't enough to kind of put pressure on them. But the try to Olukwatu, the kick from Lolohea was perfect to get him through the line, and the ball popped up beautifully. And then you just needed like another wave of tries or points, but credit to Australia, it just wasn't coming. Then the try for Ali Katoa, I thought, great, you're right in this. I think if Isaiah Katoa had kicked the goal 20-16, you're thinking, there's a bit more scoreboard pressure here. And then obviously the big moment I think was when AFB got frustrated at Havili, clearly showed it, and didn't focus on playing the ball properly. I think that was when momentum kind of dropped, and it felt as though the hopes for what they were going to do, it was over at that point. But I don't think there's any too much refereeing issues. For myself personally, I thought it was an entertaining game. I was on the edge of my seat. I was wanting Tonga to go that one step more. They couldn't really. The forward pack, I thought AFB and Tamalolo, Paseka and that Keon wave probably weren't the best. You could tell Australia was starting to dominate that part of the game. But they fought to the end, and that's all you can ask for. And I thought it was a really, really good final. And me, even being as a biased Kiwis fan, I actually probably enjoyed that final better than what it might have been with the Kiwis Kangaroos. Who knows? It'd probably be the same scoreline or could have been worse. But I thought Tonga were right up for it. Their fans were amazing. And it was actually an enjoyable grand final. And to credit to the Kangaroos, just the class. I thought Crichton was... That guy, they just could not wrap him up. He would just bump off and then he offload, bump off, offload. That's how good he is. The outside backs I thought were great for them as well. I thought, Coates probably had one of his really good games. His running, again, hard to deal with. Lomax, probably not so much, but he was very solid. But it was just great. It was a great final and I enjoyed it, But ultimately, how does it stack up? I think for me, the Kangaroos put themselves, and credit to Mal, he's put them back on where they needed to be. I mean, if they looked at from a year till now, they got a lot of things right that they didn't get right last time. I mean, if you look at last year's final, they had Nico Hines and they had, was it the Penrith fullback? Sorry, I've forgotten the name, but he was on the wing and Tedesco was at the back. There's so many things that were just sort of not right, and they got it right, I think, starting with Dearden and Moses. Two younger halves, in my opinion, although Moses is a bit more experienced, but they got the balance right. I mean, those two didn't really do much, but you feel as though they did enough to kind of get themselves over the line. The outside back selection was perfect, like I said. Last year they had mix and match kind of backs. They've gone now into a new phase with Turbo over Val Holmes probably. You got Lomax, who I think's class and shown at origin level. Then you got on the other side Hammer and Coates. I mean, Coates has been huge for them in terms of yardage, all those things that he brings. So that looks like a backline that you can build around for the next couple of years. The forward pack again looks solid and dominant. Mel I think he gets it right, the timing and how to use them. He's got long minutes forwards that can work really hard. I thought Yo was probably his best series in a Kangaroos jumper and was just immense. Harry Grant again just proves that this guy is just a world class hooker. He's just always involved, putting pressure on the defense. And then bench wise, I mean, yeah, they got a few rotational guys there. I mean, you can mix and match the bench, but that starting 13 looks like a potential really good one. And again, no Munster, no Cleary. There's heaps to weigh up moving forward. But if it was me, I would stick to pretty much that back five moving forward. Sorry, Dylan Edwards comes to mind now, but yeah, Dylan Edwards was on the wing last year in the final. Now he's in his right position. So I think a lot has changed in a year, and Mal, to his credit, got that right. So acknowledge him. They're back on top. They always were going to be. I thought it was always going to be difficult for the Kiwis to go back to back. I was hoping Tonga could just change that narrative a bit, but you got to give credit to the Kangaroos, and they've set a standard, and it's great that everyone else is trying to chase them down and beat them, because that can only lift the standard up. So as for Tonga, I think it was close to their best tournament I've ever seen them play. I mean, 2017, people will say that was the game changer and obviously the beginning of things, but I was really impressed with the quality of that team. I thought Isaiah Katoa is the guy to build around in the future. I mean, the four pack is always going to be strong, in the Tongans, and then the outside backs, I thought Kohler, you maybe give him a look in. I think Lehigh Hopewadi is the guy you build around. I think he's just got that skill set, that intangibles. He's just a good player, and I think he's gonna, if you build around him as well, that will be a solid back five. The back row, Ali Katoa, I thought great. Olakuatu as well. Jason probably by 2026, maybe Jason moves on by then. AFB, you're gonna ride him out till the 2026 World Cup. But I think this is a promising side. Again, I think if you can get a world-class, not world-class, but some better service from hooker, a bit more. I think Sonny Luke probably didn't have his best tournament. Maybe he needs a bit more work. Havili, his time is up, in my opinion. You need to go move in a new direction, but needs a bit more dynamic play from the hooker position. Lolo here, although he kind of came good in that last wave, he's still looking for another different type of 5'8", in my opinion, that can offer a little bit more. I think he did improve as the tournament went on, but I think Isaiah Katoa, if you can build it around him properly, and like we've seen what they could do, they beat the Kiwis. They're very close here against the Kangaroos, barring a few drop balls and a few moments they could have gotten over the line. There's a promising future for Tonga. So I think whoever the next coach is, I would go and try and get the best available coach. If Wolf is going to finish up, if Wayne Bennett wants it, why not him? Or why not even a tactical coach, someone that can elevate the attack a bit more. I thought Wolf did a good job of getting the defense. The defense was rock solid for a good period. It covered well. It had its moments, obviously, where it broke down, but goal line defense, I thought, was probably one of the strengths of Tonga this tournament. But maybe you look at it and say, we want someone that can have a bit more attacking options, or a coach. Again, it's a coach that has to fit in with the culture of Tonga. And Wolf has done a great job for the last 10 or so years building that culture and being solid. So I think for Tonga, looking forward, they're probably thinking, how do we get a rock-solid coach that's going to build towards the future? So big decisions to come up for Tonga. Look, that's a good squad, and like I said, a Katoa, you want to build around him. So you want to buy the best coach, in my opinion. You want to get the best team around that coach to carry them into the 2026 World Cup, because you just never know. They might find themselves in a final in a World Cup, and that might just be the next level they need to take it to. But there's a bit of work to do before then. But ultimately, I thought they've got a lot of good things to look for as a fan base, as a team moving forward. So hopefully they do well in the next, Pacific Champions next year. I believe it's going to be New Zealand, Tonga, Samoa. That right there, whoever wins that tournament will pretty much let us know who's going to do well in the World Cup. Obviously, Kangaroos always at the top, England, it'd be interesting to see how they go the Ashes series. But for Tonga, Samoa, and New Zealand, who are roughly kind of around similar talent level, similar ability, although I say New Zealand on its best day with all its players, probably a cut up, like a slight cut above. But I mean, if we play at Mount Smart again, we're probably gonna find it hard. But I think Tonga need to build from here and do the best they can to prepare for a 2026 World Cup. So anyway, guys, that's my review of the game. I really enjoyed it. Hope you guys did as well. Please leave a comment or a like and subscribe. I will try my best to get back to it. But appreciate you guys listening. Stay safe and enjoy the rest of your off season. Peace.